Where do you see this one going? Do you see this being a clear victor or a very close battle?
So it's an interesting one. If you asked me on Monday, I would have said Belfast easily. But with what happened in their recent game, they got a little bit exposed with some of the cracks in their team, and it didn't turn out the way they wanted. Yes, they were against the best Storm in the league. But DMG are a team which is very unorthodox. They will do what you least expect, and they will continue fighting whenever they want on whoever's terms. They don't care. They play very similar to how when we first seen Chinese teams, they will fight you even if they're behind to try find a way back into the game. So they're very interesting to play against, and it's always interesting to watch them because they will try find ways back into the game which you wouldn't be thinking about.
Yeah, very BLG vibes for sure. There was definitely an Elk vibe in Monday's game where it was just like, oh, the AD carry, he's killed everyone. Very unusual. Was not expecting that in sort of a tense moment. I'm massively Belfast Storm biased. I think they are going to do fine today. I think Monday might have been a wake-up call they needed. And I think as DMG are on the rise, we get a good measure of their final strength maybe, or the level at which they're improving to.
Yeah, because they are both 2-1, right? They have set themselves up. They've come in. They've taken on some competition. Yes, they've fallen over a little bit. But I feel like this is, as you said, a really good kind of moment because they get to actually kind of just face off against each other. They kind of get to really just have that 1v1 in the situation. And we're obviously going to see how that comes out in draft. Now, the question that I have for you is, where are you kind of expecting drafts to go? We've seen a bit of Kiana coming out from DMG. They're also apparently, well, I just personally think that they're just quite a fun team to watch in general.
They definitely are. They love the AP tops. They love things like Rumble, Kiana mixed together because it just makes objectives so hard to play around because you've got that AoE in the back of your head saying, there's a Kiana, what could just pop around this wall and hit 3 of us. It's things like that you have to worry about. And the mid laner loves playing these AD mids. Jace has been taken away from him game after game. So if he gets his hands on that, there's some questions what might be happening.
Indeed, but let's have a look at the teams. Let's meet them in Belfast Storm. We're going to bring them up first. We're going to have a little look at what this rainy day could bring for DMG. Temporal, talk us through this roster.
All right, it is your classic 4 Irishmen and a Swede. We have Rengus in the top lane, perennial Ornn master, and the big button and late game team fighting shot caller for Belfast Storm. The unknown Swede, Wilhelm, in the jungle, also normally on engage options. His Sejuani has looked pretty decent throughout this tournament so far. Limsey, the new addition to the roster for the otherwise 2-time champions. Plays his control mages really well. Looking for some Galio in a future meta, maybe on this patch, maybe 13-19 will be his time. Vanguard and his namesake has a bit of an affliction for longer range ADs at the moment. His Kaiser was okay, but not quite enough in a previous showing. Zerg, he plays Thresh, he plays Bard. We're going to have a surprise in the bottom lane.
I like it. I do like the surprise. This is obviously a pretty strong team. They've made their statements. They've come in looking pretty good. Let's kind of have a look at the second team now. Rel, kind of give us the breakdown on DMG. Obviously a much newer team, a much newer roster in general to the UK scene.
So you got Pighead in the top lane who will pretty much play anything for his team because he knows he has a strong jungler. With Shrouded Rowdy's last performance on that Kindred, it looked like a complete different player. When he's allowed to do what he wants, when he's allowed to play these more carry-oriented junglers, he looks so much stronger. And we've talked about Zinnia already, has a big affliction for these AD mids, likes to play Kiana, likes to play the Jace, so there's even a chance for something like the Yone or Yasuo popping out in the mid lane, the bot lane as well. I'd have to say it's probably one of their weaker sides, but it doesn't matter because how they play, they like to play the 2v2 mid lane and then they rotate towards our bot lane, which could work for them with Belfast Storm being heavily focused around the bot lane.
Yeah, and obviously, shout out to Steven. You know, someone I want to give a bit of a compliment to. Obviously, we mentioned it a little bit before about the Tam Kench stealing an Elder Drake. That was Steven, right? That was the upset. That was the moment, and that is the flavor that I feel like could change the game. You know, that could be the difference maker in this one. That does feel like it is going to be quite close. I know you guys have kind of predicted Belfast Storm maybe a little bit more the favorites here. I do think the DMG, basically it's good day, bad day, right? They could turn up and absolutely smash it. They could turn up and not have a fun time. But let's get into the draft. Let's not wait. It's game 4 on your door. Do you need to hear more? Let's find out. Bring the draft in and let's find out how they're going to decide to pick this one, because obviously we have seen quite a bit of variance in pick and ban and how much it has affected these games. So this obviously could be a big turning point temporal in this matchup.
Yeah, and I love that you went to the Tom Kench as well. Both of these teams have found success in this league. J-Rail, you are allowed to strip. I'm absolutely sweating here, and Rail has
No. We commit. The storm is raging still.
Committed. In that late game clutch moments, we've had Stevens, Tom Kench. You know, we can point to Zerg's Thresh also being a late game 4Nation mainstay. I'm excited to see sort of how that bends draft slightly, as there may just be concessions in the early game. We might actually see Vanguard's Vayne for the first time. This split, you know, it's been banned. It's similar to Tyrant's Eve. It's like, are you gonna let that through, really? And you know, you're gonna risk it. You know, it's in his name, and it's got that extra layer of like, how are these teams gonna warp that out? I would expect to see a return to the Kiana for DMG, even though I'd prefer to not. I think they're gonna do it, and they're gonna try and double down on attacking the AD carry.
Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. I think that we've seen it today a little bit. We've seen some mysterious picks. Some of them have come off clutch. Some of them not so much, right? Obviously, we can recall to a couple of those, but we won't bring them up too much. Is this the one, Rail, where we get to see some really wild stuff? Because DMG do feel like they're quite loose with the pick and bans.
I mean, it depends what gets through bans, really, because if they get their hands on Rumble Kiana, they'll happily take it every single game. If you're going to give it to them, they'll say, happily, we'll play this AoE game saying you can't touch objectives. But then that's also a double-edged sword from what I said earlier. Rowdy looked really comfortable on a carry jungler.
Yeah, it was powerful. We do have a bit of flip on the screen. Apologies. So that Azir targeted at Limsey, who's on the red side of the draft for Belfast Storm. And there's the Rumble gone. All right. Belfast trying to avoid those long-range engages.
And I respect that, right? Taking away some of the picks that you're not feeling too comfortable, and especially those ones that you don't really play against as much. Obviously, the Rumble, maybe with the Kiana, I don't think they're going to ban it away. There's also the aspect of the Kindred. This is what I mean. This team does bring out a lot of picks that aren't necessarily like too far away from the meta, but off meta enough that you're not playing against them day in, day out. And I do like that excitement. I do like that kind of extra little bit of energy, as we are going to see the Ashe banned away as well.
Early rotation Kaiser on the cards then.
Vayne is also open still. Keep that in mind. Vanguard's Vayne is open. Like you said, it is that coin flip of, are we going to pick it? Are we not? And they might just keep that hidden for a little bit just to see DMG's AD carry choice. Because if they go for something like Ezra or the Kaiser, Vanguard will say happily, I'm playing this matchup.
Yeah, I like the route. Obviously, a potential flex there. The Thresh immediately locked into counter. I am a big fan of this one. Obviously, the Flay can stop the engage from the rail. Gives your ADC a lot of potential movement as well with the Lantern. There's a few hovers going to be through there.
Yeah, Zerg's best champion by far. I'd expect to see the Sejuani here, to be honest. This is going to be a go button in the jungle if past indicators. Oh, okay. Wilhelm's rare Zinzao. Not always the biggest lean on this pick. We'll have to see how the early game goes. That's sort of the driving force there.
That is an interesting pick. I like that. The Talia pick is actually really good into Zinzao. And obviously still has that flexibility, can go towards that mid lane. So they're keeping their draft entirely open. If they do opt towards locking the Ziggs in, it still doesn't tell you much of where these champions are actually going.
Yeah, Ziggs really good right now. Played some games on it earlier. Will be the Varus, so we're expecting both those carries to be long range in bot lane. I'd expect to see the artillery form, but you know, maybe not if we want to flex.
Indeed, as we are getting the picks slowly but surely through there. The Varus going, as we said, there's so many flexibility picks here that could really just change how DMG are looking. I do wonder how Belfast going to adapt to that there. They themselves are starting to hover a few picks. I do like this Ari one, although I spoke too soon. The Vayne is on the board.
I think the Ari might have been the technically better setup there. Great 2v2 with the Xinjiao, but it's going to be the namesake Vayne. You can't complain too much. And now you get to defend it with the next two bans. So Kiana off the slate. We'll see another assassin, no doubt, on the second half.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, if DMG are feeling spicy, Varus could still go to top lane. That still is a thing. If they want to be absolute mad lads, they can do
Kerberos,
it.
where are you? You've influenced this man, and I don't like it.
This is wild, bro. Like, I know we talked about flex picks, but for me, that's a step too far, right? I know I love a bit of excitement, a little bit of new, but I think the Varus going top could present a few options, a few problems, actually, for DMG. I don't know if they want that.
No, I don't think they will, but for the memes, it could, because it's DMG, and DMG is the type of team what would pull it out, but I don't think they should with what they've got going right now, because Belfast Storm have quite decent frontline. You wouldn't really have much else to protect your team currently, so they'll probably round out top tank for tank, which will be completely fine. And then we're looking towards the mid is still a question mark, because it's that Talia who could go mid, but it looks like we're getting an AD mid after all.
Tristana falling quite far down the draft. I just want to get Rel really excited before we see Blue 5. Oh, no, it won't be. The Varus was developed as a counter to Ornn. AP on the top side by Curb. And I was so excited for a second. This Fiora also quite good at shredding down the tanks.
This is
like something similar to this.
This is like, so far, it was looking very solo queue. I like the Cassante actually. For me, it works a lot better. It gives him a little bit more team fight. It gives him a little bit more togetherness. I feel like if they look Fiora, it's just like, oh man, like anyone could just pick up anything. Belfast Storm, though, with a much more synergistic comp, they're going to lock in that Ari finally, and that is going to be a pretty, I would say, like pretty standard comp. Obviously, with the Vayne being a little bit of a side addition here, but I'm liking it from Belfast Storm.
Yeah, if you swap out that Jinja to something like that Sejuani or a Volibear, this is the same stuff they've been playing for 2 years. It's really great, really thematic.
Well, I'm here to talk to you about a certain curse. We've all heard of the curse of the sad mummy.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, I like where it's going.
All right, good. But now we've got the curse of Cassante, unfortunately, because this champion has not won a single game when picked. He has not won a single game. This Cassante pick has just kind of been getting worse and worse for whoever picks it. It's just not gone their way. Obviously, it's been different players each time, but I'm not sold on it. I still think there's just better picks you can take right now. I get the idea of it, because you have that dive potential to sort of deal with Vayne, but with this comp, Vayne is heavily protected. So even if you get towards it, you are going to get kited back by the entire enemy team. So that's why I'm not a fan of the Cassante here.
Yeah,
so are you saying
it's the only reason I
coat,
thought they'd have peeled off the Fiora? Like,
are you saying the coat needs to go back on? Are we getting a big storm incoming? Is that what's happening? Is it time for the jackets to come back? Because the storm is about to rage on another time, another storm, wet weather. We're used to that in the UK. What I want to talk about, though, quickly is obviously you've kind of mentioned the Vayne, right? You kind of said that they are going to be pretty protected. They are having to play into Varus and into Tristana and into the Talia, all of which can deal with quite a bit of range. They can keep the Vayne away or cause them to have a little bit of a difficult time with their mobility. How are you going to combat that? Is the Ari going to be able to do enough? Or are you saying that actually just the team fight setup with the Ornn, with the Xin Zhao leaping in, will just basically counteract them even getting close to the Vayne, so Vayne should have free roam?
So thematically, they have a good comp to shut down Vayne early. You have a strong lane with the Varus, and you also have a strong roamer. And what you need to combination with that, you need to 4-man dive bot. Send the jungle, send mid, and just go for that 4-man, shut the Vayne down, and then if you want to be completely gross, you stay in their bot jungle, and then you gank her again on the way back to lane and just be a horrible person.
Okay,
doable,
all right.
Doable with the tally as well.
So, Temporal, how are you reading this? Do you feel like we're going to see that weathering of the storm, or is Belfast just going to be a little bit too rampant, right? Are they just going to be able to kind of get into their groove and just make things work, or is there a world where DMG does start to edge them out?
I'm going to say it's 90% chance we get into the groove. We go to 25 minutes, there is the classic Belfast Storm crunch, and the game slides into the abyss. Now, to qualify that 10%, I think if DMG really get the ball rolling and make best use of that Cassante, as Rael said, 0% win rate, the champion's not having a great time in the UKL in the Four Nations tournament. It's absolutely suffering. And Rengus has played thousands of games of Ornn at this stage. He's an aficionado. So you've got to go up against maybe the best tank in the tank versus tank. It's not going to be a good time. If you manage to pinch the Vayne, if you manage to exploit this Ahri, who should be getting an Everfrost modulating the front line, if that TLA comes forward, she will be immediately picked out. Then I don't see much of a way back in. But if DMG, and they've shown us creativity and excitement, get an exciting early game out, they do have that Varus to push things forwards and manage to siege successfully and get through a team fight.
Okay, this is the last game of the day. This one is probably the closest in matchup that we've seen. Quick predictions. Rail, you start it off. Who wins this game?
I think the Storm rages on. I don't think it's going anywhere right now. The only slim margin I'll put for DMG is Ruddy is on a more carry-oriented jungle, like we said. There is chance for him to make plays, but is it going to be that easy? Probably not.
Yeah. Likewise, Belfast Storm, pretty comfortable. I think they have to be really knocked out of their comfort zone to take an L here today.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like I'm a little bit surprised. I feel like for me, it's a little bit more mixed up, right? I think DMG could potentially get that win, but obviously there is a lot of comfort. There is a lot of standardization coming out from Belfast Storm. It makes it very hard to kind of bet against them, but we've seen many upsets today, right? 2 out of 3 games, in my opinion, have been upsets. So we're going to find out, is Belfast Storm going to rage in like a tornado, or is it going to be Hurricane Tortilla? Find out soon. Casters, Dr. Brackish, take it away.
Thank you for the final time of the day, J-Real and the desk. Well, I was going to make a Storm joke of my own. What was it? Oh, it was going to be you can tell this is the music I grew up with. Rock You Like a Hurricane by the Scorpions, which is what, a 70s, 80s song? I think everyone had to deal with their parents' music a little bit growing up. I think I perhaps slightly more than most.
My parents' music was all just I think reggae and Clash. The two things we had.
Did you know? I thought The Law by The Clash is actually a cover. Yeah, it's a cover of a 50s, a song from the 50s.
My God, did you know? Oh,
Anyway, we are onto the Rift.
me. Is it back? I've pressed the reconnect button. Did it come back? Hey, there we are. That's great. I
4 people chilling.
Also, what you call it? Paper Planes. That song.
Oh yeah.
Samples. I don't remember which song it is. Minstrel? Nah. Oh, I'm just gonna Google it.
Right. Well, while you do that, we see a
I
standard
like paper get
on
high,
the map.
like planes. Really wanna do.
A bit of a late step in here from the side of Belfast Storm. Can you
straight
pop
to
that
hell.
ward down onto the chickens of DMG. Ruddy starting off towards the top side of the map. Wilhelm doing likewise, both with the assistance of their respective top laners. And, I mean, yeah, you keep on talking about the clash, my guy. I feel like it's going to be a little while before anything really happens.
Sharif, don't like it. Dun, 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 rock the Casbah. Rock the Casbah. What a tune. What a band.
And let's be real, the Clash have got several bangers.
I got a couple. You know it's a real band when they've got a JoJo stand
London
named after them.
Very true. It's still like slightly...
It's not a great stand.
Like it's a bit weird that Notorious B.I.G. is also a stand.
That one's crazy. Because I thought they were all rock and roll. And it's like, oh yeah, we also just got Biggie. Just for kicks.
Biggie, who's also, dead.
And also, I'm pretty sure that the concept of like Biggie the Stand, it just reminds me of there was this game. I don't think it came installed on like pre-installed computers. I don't know how it goes. Like a demo, but it was basically one of those games where it's sort of like Agario, where you just sort of like eat thing to get bigger, so that you can eat bigger thing, like in the Spore first level. Yeah. Right. It was just one of those.
Well,
I think it was. Oh,
Wilhelm is kind of sneaking in towards the bot side here. Ruddy might not be aware of this, and it looks like the engage is coming forward. The Ghost has already been burnt by Vayne Yang taking a chunk of damage. The crash down from Steven will dissuade them
We
for
missed.
a moment, but Flash is already gone. Yang surviving for a moment longer, but Vanguard will pick up the first kill of the game. Zerg does go down. Steven, however, going to drop also. Wilhelm
Oh, no,
may
fellas.
just drop as well. One more hit would do it. It's 3 kills for Vanguard as we start off the map in a fantastic situation for the Belfast Storm. We were talking about it. The desk were talking about it, Doctor. Shut down the Vayne.
Look,
That ain't it.
It's been 4 years, I think. Maybe 3 since we last saw Vanguard play in a UKEL tournament. And I seem to recall that way back then, Vanguard was not often allowed to get Vayne. For reasons
wonder
that
why
may
that
or
might
may
be.
not be immediately apparent. And I just feel like starting the game with 2 kills and double buffs usually...
I didn't even think about that. Oh no. Oh,
This
dear.
could not
Yeah,
be looking
this-
great.
You know,
for
this
DMG.
is like, you know, you play a video game, you feel like you're all pro and whatnot. Yeah, I was like, all right, I'll start this game off on hard mode, you know. It ain't that bad. I'm going to do my first playthrough on the harder difficulty. This is basically doing that. It's like, congratulations, you have set your game up a difficulty level just from the first 3 minutes.
It's like you start a run of Sekiro, and the first thing you do is just take the secret door up to the bell just to ring it at the start of your playthrough. Just like, right, get out of the way. Shout out to anyone. And take it. There's a place you can go in Sekiro where you ring the bell. It just makes the game harder. That's all it does.
Yeah.
It's just the closest
It's like
thing to a
starting
difficulty
Elden
mode.
Ring with Shiburi's Woe.
I haven't played Elden Ring yet.
See, we've got the reverse angle. Anyway, Zerg looking forwards. They're going to find the angle onto Yang. Shattering Strike is not going to save you, my friend. Wilhelm is going to say, hold up, Vanguard. You got enough kills already, my guy. He's going to take that one for himself.
You can get another one. Vanguard can have a little bit of just being turbo mega ahead. You know, as a treat. Just a little bit. As
because AD carries don't get enough of that anyway.
Oh, it's disgusting. Vanguard gets the freeze bot, and they're doing the Drake as well. Oh, and they're going to get away with it. No one would be crazy enough to try it.
A thing of beauty. Belfast Storm clearly are, Doctor. And they will be able to pick that one up. Yang. The farm numbers don't say much right now, because he is not going to be able to realistically step up when he gets back to lane, because Zerg can walk into lane, zone him off, or just flay him, or, you know, death sentence him if he gets cheeky enough to step anywhere near to the wave.
God, it's painful. I mean, at least Varus does have a lot of range. Like, he's got high base range, and his E has long range, and his Q, of course, as well. So he should be able to get a couple of CS, but then at some point, mana will be a problem. As you say, if Zerg just walks up and hooks him, it's a bit doomed. Shroudy has come on down to try and give a little bit of pressure just to make sure that no one can do anything too crazy to hold that wave off the turret. So the wave will crash, and Yang's not going to be in too terrible a situation for too long. Unfortunately for Shroudy, though, no bot side camps available, so we can't do a quick and dirty hit level 6 and then just ult straight back bot. Although he might end up just walking, as we see both junglers entering towards the river. But nothing crazy going to kick off, and just should be aware at some point that there could be a just random solo kill top lane, courtesy of one Cassante as a champion.
I mean, right now, Pighead's not actually having the best time of it. He has just, or has already picked up the Sheen, but it does seem like Rengus, what am I talking about? Yeah, no, Rengus. That is the guy's name. I thought I flubbed it, but I had not. Meanwhile, the catch on the mid lane, Limsey, has had enough of Jinyu in his lane. We'll take that one down. Rengus is going to look for the angle in. Pighead trying to turn it back around, but he's going very, very low. And the Bellows Breath will take it down. It's the Bolo in the top lane for the Ornn. People forget that Ornn can really hurt.
That's not the solo kill that I was expecting. I kind of thought it would maybe go the other way around. And also rough times for Avalon mid. As, it just feels like he wasn't ready for the charm. Maybe it's because, Limsey just hit 6, but you gotta be on your toes. We're getting late. It's getting into the evening. We're not quite as anticipating that, and it ends up just being a free kill hand on over. What does scare me a little bit, though, is that Avalon has gone for the old curse shaves, which makes me think maybe they're going for a Shiv. And it's like, Shiv has been nerfed 50 times. It's on Trist, it may not matter. You may still hit the appropriate breaks because of the E, but I've just always been of the opinion you don't need the Shiv on that champion. Like, you should clear the wave. And if you just speed run a, whatchamacallit? Not, I want to say Essence Reaver, that's the wrong one. Navori, that's the one. If you speed run Navori Quick Blades, you can just one-hit someone. And you don't, well, not wait, one-hit, well, maybe one-hit, depends how much AD you have. Point is, you don't need the Shiv, and you're going to get outpushed, and I think it could be rough because you're playing Trist, so like you need to be able to pressure turrets and pressure damage, and if all you're doing is just trying to catch waves and scale up, that's not going to be a huge help for you, especially in this game where you're going to have to deal with that Vayne at some point.
Yeah, and of course, Shiv received yet another nerf on the 13-19 patch, so less and less we see it being... I think we should see it being prioritized even less. May I also briefly take a second to sandbox and praise Riot for very quickly getting AD LeBlanc out of the game.
Okay, A, what do you mean sandbox? B, it wasn't quick. This champ's been a problem for months.
Soapbox, that's the word, isn't it?
Oh, soapbox, yeah.
Yeah, I was having a little rant moment, but
Hey, what? I was going to say
it was
apple